FE12, Hard 3, ZPG, Chapter 17. Let's talk about a few things during these preparations. Katarina joined our army last chapter, and she's going to be doing a ton of work for the rest of the game as a Sage and as 11 Sword Swordmaster. So she's going to eat 3 Speed Wings, 2 Spirit Dusts, our Secret Book, and an Arm Scroll here. We recruited Astrum in Chapter 16, and he's pretty worthless because of his low speed, but he brought us the Mercurius sword, which is basically the Parthia of swords, A rank with 18 base might and 10 crit. So Leiden's going to eat our other Arm Scroll, and he'll be getting a ton of value from Mercurius for the rest of the game. Now, there are a lot of Draco Knights and Wyverns left in the game that I need to one-shot, and the Parthia is running pretty low, so I need to forge a pretty expensive new bow here. Fun fact, if you're forging a duplicate Parthia with 18 might, then it's cheaper to put 10 might on a steel bow than 6 might on a silver bow. And the steel bow has 15 more uses and requires lower weapon rank, so that seems like an oversight in how forging is priced. But I only need 17 might, one less than the Parthia, in which case it's actually 1,000 gold cheaper to forge the silver bow. Nevertheless, I'm going to pay the extra grand and forge the steel bow, because the lower weapon rank will be important later. This forge is named Geitz, who is one of my favorite units in FE7. I think there'd be a lot more discussion about him in like tier lists and stuff if his recruitment chapter weren't locked behind the stupidest requirements ever. Getting into the chapter here, there's a lot happening on turn 1. Our starting position is going to be approached by 6 Draco Knights, a few warriors, and a couple snipers no matter what you do, so we need to get to work. Mercurius puts some heavy chip damage on this sniper for the others to finish off, and we'll want to kill a warrior and 2 Draco Knights on counter on enemy phase, so Beck is set up with Geitz, Etzel is set up with Excalibur after Pala switches it to his equip slot, and they're going to kill on counter. Zane, of course, is at his best when he copies the unit you pump all your stat boosters into, right? So there you go, he's copying Katarina. You can go ahead and get used to seeing that. Beck kills this Draco Knight with Geitz, and with the Master Sword and Fina holding the Geosphere, Leiden has a 55 crit against this warrior, so it's not very hard at all to get that crit. Although he does need the Star Sphere to be able to one-shot. Pulling longbow snipers up against a wall is pretty standard for third act of Fire Emblem games. It's just bread and butter, so this is no exception. General Minerva does a good job eating that damage for us. Etzel did not need to crit here, but he did need A-rank tomes to one-shot, which I got last chapter in order to cover the stat variation on that Draco Knight. Here on turn 2, I'm going to need 2 crits, and with the large number of actions that need to be taken, it's almost a guarantee you'll be able to find the crits somewhere with a save state and just shuffling around the order you do things until it works out. It just so happens that I got them on my first 2 actions here. Now remember that Etzel can't walk on water tiles, so killing the longbow sniper was really only a job for a sniper. Marth can now recruit a new sniper for us named Tomas. He's not very good, only a B rank in bows, but he's able to find some use in this chapter by trading off Geitz and hitting this Draco Knight. Etzel gets another unnecessary crit because FE12 hates me, and Minerva helps us save a Parthia use by chipping at this Draco Knight with her Iron Bow. This last Draco Knight is really the source of all your problems at the beginning of this chapter, because no one can get to him without making the longbow sniper mad, so I needed to get rid of him. And this is also where I learned that Dragon Pikes and Wormslayers do not work against Draco Knights in this game for some fucking reason, so there was really no way to kill this guy except a sniper standing on the water. Katarina and Zane are going to team up against this nearby warrior, and this was a pretty stupid mistake actually. It was supposed to be Pala finishing off his warrior, not Zane. I really can't afford to waste Levin Sword uses like that, but it's not quite enough for me to want to replay this. But that was a mistake. I'm still slowly working my way to C-rank stabs on Etzel, and Fiend is going to help Marth get to the second village here on the left. Most LTCs skip this village, despite the Angelic Robe being an incredibly good item. I simply cannot skip it though. Katarina won't be able to survive a round of combat against Harden without it. And getting this slows down this chapter pretty significantly. Those first 2 turns are really where all the meat is. There's the thief making his way to this village, but even with Marth taking a couple turns to get moving, it's still pretty lenient timing. We won't have any trouble with that thief. Leiden's heading down to grab the next warrior, and Tomas finishes this sniper with Geitz. There are a lot of Geitz overkills like that, but remember that forging doesn't increase a weapon's value, and I have way more uses on Geitz than I need for the whole run, so it's much more gold efficient to use Geitz than a regular silver bow or killer bow when I'm, in a finishing off an enemy situation like that. Leiden does not need to dodge or crit here, so I'm going to act like he didn't. This thief heading to the south exit drops a Nosferatu tome, but I cannot even begin to care about that, so enjoy the rest of your life, thief guy. I intended to have the Avatar and Minerva team up for this kill, but whoever attacked first was going to crit. That was just the state of the RNG here, so I gave it to Minerva and had the Avatar wait here where he would have attacked. Pala still has not contributed anything to this chapter, automatically making this the most unique FE12 LTC ever. Leiden pretends that he had to attack that warrior again. Yumina would have healed him before that, and then he would have died to either Katarina or Zane. It doesn't really matter. Etzel gets to C-rank stabs, hooray, and we keep on moving. If you don't know how this chapter works, there are some incredibly weak, unpromoted enemies standing around that don't attack you, and keeping them all alive is required to recruit the boss character, so that's what's going on there. There was some variation of a backup or something where I needed Minerva at full HP to get doubled by a sniper again, so that's why she's using all these vulneraries, but in this video it doesn't actually do anything. A sniper and warrior have overlapping max range here around the door, and Marth still has a long walk, so I can kind of just take my time setting up. There's another entire pathway and building to the right of us, but literally the only payoff for going that way is one secret book, and it involves a bunch of reinforcements. It's very strange design, and no one should ever go that way. We have to be careful of the sniper's range here on the left and on the right, but there's one little nook where the sniper can't reach, and that's where Leiden is going to fight this warrior for us. Again, you can see how slow this is when you have to get the angelic robe. Not that I'm complaining. There aren't a whole lot more situations like this in the game, so let's enjoy it while we can. Katarina doesn't need to crit here, but it gets me back that Levin sword use I wasted on turn 2, so that's nice. And Yumina is going to go ahead and simulate healing Katarina. She would have gotten countered by that sniper. It's worth reminding that Mercurius sells for 0 gold, and I'm going to finish the game without breaking it, so there's really no risk of overusing it, unlike the Levin swords, which I need to conserve as much as I can. Now Leiden is in position to receive the door key from Marth next turn, which is sort of my own fault, because Leiden sent that key to the convoy earlier in this chapter, but it's fine, it doesn't cost me anything. And Beck and Tomas come in to finish off this warrior. Now when you open that door south of the save tile, it's like chapter 16, everything in there is going to come pouring out, and there will be reinforcements spawning to flank us. In this case, it's 2 packs of Draco Knights, one to our left and one back at the start, which is why I couldn't have opened this door before Marth and the rest of that squad got here. Now one of the enemy units inside this building is a longbow sniper, and he can hit that entire row of tiles along the north side of the wall, so that's why I need to set up my defense here where Katarina is. Katarina and Zane are both going to use their lady swords instead of their Levin swords to conserve those uses. Minerva needs to get out of the way to make room for the Avatar, because again, my sword masters can't be any further to the left. And one of the Draco Knights that's going to spawn here has a hammer, so Minerva would get massacred anyway. Leiden is finally going to open this door, and we're going to move our archers in position with Etzel to fight the other group of reinforcements. The general boss and the hero next to her are both recruitable, and the keen observer will note that the longbow sniper actually wouldn't be able to hit a unit along the wall above those two because they're blocking those tiles, but that sniper would still run up to the corner and hang around waiting for a chance to attack instead of running to the exit like I wanted to. So again, Katarina and Zane couldn't be any further to the left. Resetting on this save tile doesn't require much luck. I just need Leiden to dodge, and that warrior only has 60-something hit with his hammer and weapon triangle disadvantage, so that's a pretty easy dodge to get. And I also need Leiden to not crit on counter, because then another warrior will run in and he'll die after the sniper hits him. I could have had Etzel in position to counter that first Draco Knight on enemy phase because he does have a spear, and that might have made my life a little easier, but I got by without it. Now the Warrior and Sniper that just attacked Leiden only have 7 move compared to Leiden's 8, so with his max movement here, he's not in any danger on next enemy phase, and then we're just going to stagger our other Swordmasters at that distance. The Parthia makes quick work of these Draco Knights, and Minerva's Iron Bow once again helps us take down this last Draco Knight. A good question to ask is why I'm using the Avatar instead of George, and that's because I need to max out his support with Katarina ASAP, so we'll be seeing a lot of him from now on. Now, there are many different combinations of kills and attacks to deal with this turn. It kind of just depends on what your RNG looks like and how the enemies moved and the position they're in. And if you need to reset, the save tile was just a couple minutes ago. So just find some way to deal with this. Ultimately, I went with 2 crits, one with the Parthia and one with the Master Sword. The most important thing is to make sure Fina is at least this close to the door for next turn. We get some rare Marth combat to finish off this warrior. And then I was trying to figure out who hadn't moved yet. Oh yeah, it was Tomas. So Marth has to move into the hero's range here, that's Samson, in order to reach the general on his next movement, that's Shima. And Fina's max movement is just able to reach him. So that's why she needed to be there last turn. Shima's base stats are a straight up insult to the player, so there's nothing to talk about there. Samson is interesting for his B rank and axes, but even with 18 speed, he gets doubled by almost everything from now on, so we won't be seeing him either. I grab a couple of door keys from the vendor to use later, and that's all she wrote. Pretty easy chapter because of how long it takes to get the angelic robe, and it's just kind of a weird design in general. That's all for now though, so thanks for watching.